let you go. There's no way. I'm already still burning. So hold me close. Now, baby, I do what I'm told. Still learning to take my chances, to take my time, to keep on dancing, to walk that line. Yeah, you got me shifting the paradigm. No longer wishing, you're my lucky strike. Love the way you ride. Look into my eyes, say you're ready to go. $1 million life, yeah. We could roll the dice. Act like you're surprised, but you already know. Oh yeah, got lucky overnight. Jackpot when I got the invite. Let me wrap my arms around you, cause I can't go home without you. And my heart just vibe with you, babe. Wanna go sky high with you, babe. Gotta bring you close to tell you that you're my lucky strike. And I got to tell you, if you didn't know, then I got to tell you that you're my lucky strike. And I got to tell you, if you didn't know, then I got to tell you that you're my lucky strike. Cooler than cold, I'm all in. So load up the dice, so heavy. The way that you roll, I'm falling. So I never fall. I'm ready to take my chances, to take my time, to keep on dancing, to walk that line. Yeah, you got me shifting the paradigm. No longer wishing, you're my lucky strike. Yeah. Love the way you ride. Look into my eyes, say you're ready to go. $1 million life, yeah. We could roll the dice. Act like you surprised, but you already know. You're my lucky strike, and I got to tell you, if you didn't know, then I got to tell you that you're my lucky strike. And I got to tell you, if you didn't know, then I got to tell you that you're my lucky strike.
All right, folks. Well, you know you're in for a treat when you hear that tune, 'cause it's time for another week of the RecPoker podcast. This is the chats edition, but we also have a forums edition every week, just talking poker strategy. I'm your host for both. I've got the best freaking job in the world, talking poker with my friends here on the podcast every Monday night, 7:30 Eastern, live on YouTube. And you can join us every week for free and win a prize just for showing up. My name is Jim Reed. I'm Bluffsterini in the home game and at RecPoker Jim on the hellscape we call Twitter. And we're going to be talking to Veronica Brill in just a moment. That's right, folks. She's back. But first, I'm pleased to mention that we are brought to you by Running Aces. They're the official sponsor of the RecPoker podcast. You can find out more about them at runaces.com. Most of what we do here is free. We're a largely volunteer-based organization, so we really depend on support from our sponsors and also from our premium members who chip in their $22 a month to take part in our training material and study opportunities. And I want to shout out a couple folks recently. Julie Keene. Thanks, Julie, for signing up for our premium membership. And then we've launched our Patreon platform as well. So if folks want to buy us a cup of coffee there for $3 a month, we really appreciate that support. Or they can pay $10 a month and get audio versions of almost all our training videos downloaded right to their phone, like a premium podcast every month. So I want to thank Joe Walton and Rob Brereton for being fantastic supporters over on Patreon. And if folks want some other ways to help us out, a lot of them doesn't cost a dime, but we need a lot of help all over the board. So head to rec.poker/support, and you can find out all sorts of ways to help out our mission here to make the recreational poker world a better place. Most of what we do here is free, so you can sign up for a free account at RecPoker. All it takes is an email address and a smile, although we do insist on both. But you can always get your first month of premium membership for only $5 by using the code RecPoker at checkout. And if $5 seems like too much, I get it, man. Let's do a little deal here. We love supporting local food banks here at RecPoker. So if you make a donation of any amount to a local food bank and just send us the receipt, we'll happily credit you a free month of membership here at RecPoker as a way of saying thanks for doing some good in your own backyard. Now, speaking of your own backyard, you get used to hearing my voice on Mondays because they let me host the show, these suckers. But I'm only one man. It takes a group, a gang, a village, a crew to make all the magic happen here at RecPoker. We call our group of wizards the Wrecking Crew. And if you want to find out more about me or the rest of the crew, you can go to rec.poker/crew. But you can just listen up because you're going to meet a few of them right here tonight on the air, starting with producing co-host Chris Jones.
Well, I'm Chris Jones. You can find me 5b5 on Twitter or 5x5 in the PokerStars home game. And I help run our monthly strategy segment called The Deep Dive.
And I'm John Somsky, also known as Poker Geek MN everywhere. And I help coordinate our home games.
And I'm Kim Kilroy. I'm PetVet33 on the social platforms and Fergie56 in the home game. I run a hand history review group once a month on the second Wednesday. And I want to give a special shout out to Julie Keene. She's part of my Pocket Queen study group, and I'm really excited that she's a premium member now.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thanks, Kim, for spreading the good word. However, people hear about the great stuff we're doing here. I'm glad they get involved. So thank you to you, and thank you again to Julie Keene. And thank you to Veronica Brill. Veronica, no stranger to the show. We got a chance to chat the other day, and we said, let's reconnect, old friend. First of all, I just want to say thanks for coming back on the RecPoker podcast.
Thanks for having me. I don't know if you saw my jazz hands going crazy to that intro music, but I'm feeling it. I'm happy to be here.
That's so great. We do have a good time kind of getting into it with the music. That's Peter Trulin. Got to shout the guy out. If you want to work with Peter, he's a gem. His email information is in the show notes. So yeah, thanks for bopping along with us, because sometimes you get that infectious beat and it's just like there's nothing you can do.
It was hitting. It was hitting, yeah, it was great.
It was hitting. So Veronica, you've always been a good mix of sort of this sort of like an industry professional, but like a recreational player, and I mean that in the way of not playing for a living, but enjoying the game, loving the game, profiting from it. Why don't you, so you've worn a lot of hats over the years. You've been a commentary expert, you've run shows, you've done promotional work. Of course, you've also really enjoyed just playing poker all over the United States of America and beyond. If our audience doesn't know who this Veronica Brill character is, I don't know how that's possible, but how would you describe your current role in the poker world and kind of what's going on in your life right now? Because I know there's been some stuff happening lately.
Yeah, I don't have a current role. I might be, helping out Bally's, doing some stuff with the ladies' cash games that they're trying to put together on a monthly basis. But I've just exited. I was hoping to exit the world of poker media. I did just exit from, the Nick Vertucci show, and I probably won't be doing any more hosting on Hustler Casino Live until I know that situation has been properly dealt with.
And so we're going to open up our YouTube chatters here. If you've got questions for Veronica, feel free to type them into the YouTube chat, and we'll make sure that we ask them of her. And if you're on the Wrecking Crew panel here, just unmute. I know there's a lot of interesting subjects that we could talk to Veronica about. And I guess before we get really into it, also, if you're in the YouTube chat and you've got some suggestions for Stake Study Stack, type those in and give Chris Jones some ammunition to put Veronica in the blender later. And of course, anyone who wants to help support our fight against food insecurity by supporting a local food bank, if you make any donations to our show via the YouTube super chats or super comments or whatever like that, we'll share a portion of all those donations with a local food bank. All right, so Veronica, you sort of led right into it there. There's I'll just kind of sum up, and you can tell me what I'm missing here. But you were very involved in like the Nick Fertucci show, the podcast. Nick had a place in the poker world as sort of like helping to run the Hustler Casino Live
He's the
stream.
owner. He's one of the owners. Him and Ryan own Hustler Casino Live.
Okay. And there have been a lot of credible allegations over the last while that Nick has been behaving inappropriately, specifically with women. I'm very removed from the situation. I only know what I'm reading in headlines and in articles and that sort of thing. I don't want to misstate anything. You've been much more connected to it, of course, through your employment with the organization. And then also with your role of just sort of like having to respond to this stuff as it's coming out. Would you mind just sort of sharing sort of in your words what you feel like is the situation and what we're dealing with now on the other side of it as we react and respond?
Yeah, I think this stemmed from Julia from Palmdale putting out her tweets about Nick's text messages with her. And it uncovered a deeper issue regarding Lauren, who was one of the star dealers on Hustler Casino Live, and allegations of like I don't want to call it something that it is or isn't. I don't know what the correct legal term for it is. That's like between the lawyers, and I don't know if there's going to be criminal charges or anything, but like sexual assault allegations, I guess we could say. Um, I wasn't there for any of it, so I didn't witness it. I do believe what Lauren has told me. So it started out with Julia, and then other women started posting their interactions with Nick, um, things that made them uncomfortable, inappropriate things that he said to them. And I guess at the time that I found out that there was something going on with Lauren was the week before everyone started finding out. And all I knew was that there was a dealer who was disgruntled, is what I was told. And so if we can backtrack a little bit, if anyone does know Nick, he does like to get in the thick of things. He loves to be very dramatic. He loves to fight with anybody and everybody online. If there's a Twitter follower with there's a Twitter person with 3 followers, Nick will argue with them for a week straight. He really is kind of immature in that way where he just is constantly in a fight with someone. And so I have gotten to a point in order to maintain my mental health is like not diving into everything he tells me when he's in a fight. And so what he told me about Lauren was that there was like a disagreement over a large tip that was given during the Legends of the Felt game. And it sounded reasonable because there was another dealer who received a large tip. And apparently Lauren was disgruntled about it and had launched a complaint. And that's what he told me. So I was like, okay, Nick's dealing with another issue. Sounded reasonable, didn't say anything about anything else. And I was at his house when Julia's tweets came out. And I asked him, hey, like, look, we're all adults. Is there history between you two? Like, is there a flirtatious history? Did you guys have a relationship? Is there something going on? Like, is this just like out of context for your relationship, or is this like right square where you guys were a year ago? And he said, oh, we were always flirty. We've always, had a flirty reaction. I said, okay, interaction. So I said, where are the other flirty text messages? Do you have any others? He said, no, it was just over the phone. I'm like, well, then just own it. Tell people like, hey, Julia and I unfortunately do not have a relationship anymore, but when we did, we were flirtatious. And then that probably wasn't the case, right? And then I find out that Julia was apparently, from her perspective, removed from the game. He removed her from the game, and it might have been because she refused to deal with his advances. I'm not sure. Julie and I actually hung out last week in the game, but we didn't talk about it. And so I at first gave him the benefit of the doubt when Julia's tweets came out. And then when I came home that weekend after I heard Ash talk on Poker Spaces. I heard Ellie speak about her interactions with him, which I thought they were friends. Like I had no idea. I actually spoke with Ellie after and I said, I'm so sorry. I had no idea that this happened to you. I thought you guys were good. She's like, yeah, I didn't tell anyone. Yeah, when all that stuff started coming out, I texted him. I said, at some point, you're no longer the victim of like a disgruntled dealer. You are now this predator. Like you are in the wrong. And all their stories are starting to sound the same. And so I can't support you. And I remember he was asking me, he said, this is going to be a time where I figure out who my friends are and I really need your support here. And I said to him, like, if you want my support, I need the truth. And I think Nick towards me and probably people around him who he thinks are close will manipulate a situation or a story to make himself look like he is coming out rosy. And he lies based on omission and he doesn't give you the full story. And so I basically told him I can't support you in this and I blocked him. And then I kind of didn't know what to do for a few days. I was just gathering my thoughts, I spoke with Laura and I spoke with Ash. I spoke with some other women and I did the poker org interview because I just thought like if I put out one tweet, they're just gonna drag me. They're not gonna hear the whole story. They won't understand, the whole timeline of this. Yeah, and that's just basically where it's been from there. I'm not quite sure what's happening. The last time I spoke with Lauren was almost a week ago. I'm not quite sure. It sounded like she just really wanted her job back. It is like she loved that job. I think she just wanted Nick not to violate her in any way. So I'm not quite sure what's happening with that.
And I think I'm curious if you feel, and first of all, like, thank you for just being frank with us and sharing all this information again. Like we don't know what the facts are on this side. We're very removed from it. But you and I have spoken several times. I feel like you have a lot of integrity and high character when it comes to this kind of stuff. So I appreciate sharing this with us. Do you feel like you're in a unique position being an outspoken woman poker celebrity who's kind of in this position? And I think some people, rightly or wrongly, like some people say that you've added some legitimacy to his platform by like working with him. Like, do you feel, tell us a little bit what this experience is like for you, because I feel like you have a role like a sorry, what am I trying to say? Not you're in this predicament as well, obviously in a very different element of it, but what's this like for you?
It's incredibly uncomfortable and I don't like it. I feel like I like in a way I can't be held accountable for his actions, especially when like this year I've been in town 4 times and I I go to LA once every 6 weeks or once every 2 months. Last year, we'll record like 4 or 5 episodes. I literally fly in Saturday morning, we record 4 or 5 episodes. I leave Sunday afternoon. So I didn't like spend a ton of time with him, even though I was his co-host. But it is incredibly frustrating given that so many people told me not to work with him. And
Hmm.
I selfishly continue to work with him because one, um, like I put in boundaries pretty early on with him and he respected those. I've never seen him act aggressive towards a woman, but just as far as just me and him, we did end up developing a friendship and I became close with his family, his children, his wife, his cousins, and he has an incredible family. And I just thought, okay, this guy's like really rough around the edges, but there's no way we have this like entire group of people surrounding this man. And he's like a monster. He's not. He's like he's a really good father. I can't say he's not. He's an incredible father. So it was like a part of me. I enjoyed doing Hustler Casino Live, hosting. I really just wanted to be a part of the poker community still and do a podcast. And he had the money for a studio. He had connections with guests because he was hosting these $1 million cash games, and we had all these like really high profile players came on the podcast. And so I really wanted to be a part of that. He also never told me what to say. He never edited anything out that he didn't want to talk about. Like he was really good with all that. The $1 million cash game I got paid very well for. I just enjoyed that part. So like part of it was selfishly me, but um on the other end, like I knew that he was flirty, and I knew that I don't think he understands. He's like almost a 60-year-old man. And like when you say things to a 25-year-old, like they're not interested in you
Hmm.
unless potentially some of them maybe want something from you, but they're not interested in you in that way. And I think he just doesn't see that. And but he you've never seen him do some of the things that the women have accused him of doing. But I've never been in a situation like most of the time I'm hanging out with him. If I am outside of recording the podcast, I'm hanging out with his family. And so that was a different situation. Or we would go play like 5-10 and just be at the poker table the entire time. So I didn't see any of this.
Hmm.
Is that the answer to your
Oh
question?
yeah,
It's
no,
incredible. It's like embarrassing in a way. It's incredibly like obviously I made choices that were self-centered over like potentially my reputation, because my reputation's a little bit fucked right now. Like I'm getting constantly attacked for this. Which is like it's fine. It is what it is. I also know like I can't be held responsible for what he did, especially when I wasn't around. So
yeah, and you were very frank, and I encourage folks, if you're interested in this, to check out the interview with Craig Tapscott over at Poker.org. I appreciated your perspective on that as well, and your frankness. And you said you sort of commented in that you felt like you'd, selfishly chosen to work with him because it was good for your profile in the industry and like to have this place in the poker world. I'd push back on that a little bit. Like you can call it selfish. Like I think we're all trying to advantage ourselves in our industries, and like we want to take opportunities that work for us and that like have upside for us. Every industry is going to have their scumbags and douches in them. Is there a, I don't know, like obviously, you would say that if you knew now, you wouldn't go in working with them, but like you said yourself, I've never met Nick Bertucci, but what I've seen him on TV, like I get the sense like, oh, that guy, sorry, Nick, from the outside, that guy might be a douchebag. When you're sort of getting to know him a little better and starting to work with him, like in retrospect, like were there red flags that you feel like you just glossed over, or is it just like we're gonna work with douches sometimes, and like how do we work? How
oh,
do we get around that?
I will tell you, Jim, if I were to not be around a 50 something, 60 something year old dude that was a little bit creepy and saying flirtatious shit, I wouldn't be anywhere,
Right.
because there's just a lot of versions of him out there in different on different ends of the spectrum. I That is one thing I learned when I first started playing poker in my 20s, and like I'm 47, so this was a long time ago. I was just I mean, I've been made to cry at the table, and I had to walk out of the poker room because the guys made me cry because of the shit they were saying to me. And like I've had guys say incredibly misogynist things. I had a guy like grab my ass in the poker room, and the guy was married, like, and he was doing it to a lot of women. And this was in Edmonton in Canada. So like I grew up in like a really like I just feel like the young generation is getting it right. They are a lot less misogynist, and they don't look at women as objects. But I feel like it's not an excuse, but a lot of men Nick's age are like him. And to me, once I like nipped it in the bud, I told him like, hey, if we're gonna work together, you can't talk to me like that. Like you can't this is not it, then it was done. And I thought like it was pretty harmless, to be honest with you. I'm like, oh yeah, he's got that side to him, but he didn't do it to me after that initial flirting. And then I didn't think much of it. Like he complained to me about sashimi, that ear thing. And I I thought in a way that like the way he told me every story, I always was like, oh my God, he's like over exaggerating everything. And he's always like fighting with someone. I'm like, yeah, yeah, tell your story. Okay, cool, Nick. It's like, yeah, I touched her ear. She got mad at me. And I was just like, oh, what? I don't know what he's upset about. Like, I just stopped listening to him at that point. So I never even watched the episode until the clips came out recently. So
Yeah. Well, and I think you make a great point that, there's sexist assholes in every corner of the world, right? And unfortunately, a lot of those are the ones kind of gatekeeping access to some of these opportunities to become great, to raise your own profile, to like take that
right.
step
And
in the industry.
I think what Nick was missing from my interactions with him, and like maybe he's not missing it now because I stopped interacting with him after all the women started coming out. It felt like he didn't understand the power dynamic, that he was
Hmm.
holding the keys to the game or whatever it may be. And I never had that power dynamic with him, because I have a job. I didn't depend on him for income. It was like a fun thing for me to do. But it wasn't like if I would like if he said anything that would piss me off, I'd be like, fuck you, Nick, I'm out. And we got so many fights and I left the show so many times. And then he would like call me, be like, let's work it out. Let's learn how to communicate. And then, we try again. So I just think that it sounds like he enjoyed that power dynamic and holding like that may have been like the center of what he enjoyed. Um, uh, like flirting with women when they rely on you to get in these games or whatever it is.
Now we talk on this show, I'd say quite a bit about sort of the plight of people who don't feel comfortable normally in the poker world, whether that's women or new players or minorities or folks that are just on the outside of some of the sort of like good old boy element of what a lot of people think the poker world is. And I agree with you. I think we're becoming a better group. I think we're becoming a better cohort as a whole.
Yeah, I
But
want to be clear that I don't think every man of that generation is like that, but I'm just saying that we all know them. There are, percentage of them that are. So, and even some younger, but yeah. No, I
and,
just wanted to clarify before everyone gets mad at me.
no, and I want to push that point a little bit. And I know we're getting some comments and questions in the YouTube chat here, so we'll get to those in just a second as well. But do you think in your experience now, because you've been an industry professional in the poker world and you've also worked outside of the poker world, do you think that this is a poker problem or a humankind problem? And then the problem is that poker players are mostly humans, and that's kind of an issue.
Well, I will say that like it's both. Um, Part of the problem is that poker is 95% men. And so you have like in corporate America, it's like probably evenly split 50-50. And so if there's like a percentage of men who are misogynist, there's probably less percentage of them given the entire population. But within poker, it seems like there are greater numbers. And then if we look at the response, and I'm not sure if you guys go into poker spaces, and they've mostly died. Like back in the heyday, Daniel Negreanu was in there, like all these huge names, Garrett, but now it's kind of devolved into these like really angry men who, 60 to 100 of them on a nightly basis will go into poker spaces and really attack. They attacked me for like a week after my interview. And everyone used to message me like, oh my God, I can't believe what they're saying about you in poker spaces. And it's like, this kind of thing is like the reason why women don't want to come forward. This kind of thing is the reason why women don't want to play at the tables and don't feel comfortable because these kinds of men are making us all very uncomfortable and making us like accusing us of doing something when we're not the one they should be blaming. And it's so funny that I got dragged for so long, but none of the men that were involved, who see him on a daily basis, who hang out with him, and they know who hang out with him, none of them were dragged in those poker spaces. It was just me. I don't know why they chose me for that week. They'll choose another woman. I got invites to like do 1v1s with them. Like it's just like absolutely ridiculous. And then Mike Postle has now peered his ugly little chunky potato head into those poker spaces, and he's in there all the time. So it's funny, but he's making my life miserable, and he's never
Yeah.
going to stop.
No, I mean, that's, yeah. Do you feel like, so I feel like in the ways that you and I have known each other, you've been someone who is speaking on the side of right, who is trying to sort of point out these inequalities or, you know, crimes like the work you did, shining the light on Mike Postle. Do you feel like, yeah, what am I trying to say here? Like, again, I guess can you speak to sort of your experience as the front person for some of this? Because like you
Yeah,
are getting a lot of blowback that I think is just anger that needs a target. And so you're stepping in front of that a little bit. Can you just speak to that?
yeah. So the reason I have not been hurt or killed by Mike Postle is because he has a daughter. Because that man is at this point, I think, deranged and mentally ill. His whole life's focus is to somehow make everyone believe that I am this horrible human. And if everyone believes him, and this is like a based in misogyny because he thinks I'm some blonde with big tits, and because I made this announcement, everyone in the poker community is like, oh my God, Veronica's right. I believe her. And he has made it his life's mission to like try to drag me publicly, and he keeps saying he's going to release stuff and he hasn't, and it's all just a ploy. But like he is so angry, and he thinks I ruined his life, and he takes no accountability for what he did, and he's made it his focus to just focus on me and me be the reason why he is shunned from the community. And he is incredibly angry. And yeah, if he didn't have a daughter, I am 100% convinced he would hurt me or kill me. I'm not joking. And him and his group of friends are chronically attacking me. Chronically. So he's mad that I got Poker After Dark after I went public with the cheating. He's not mad at Joey Ingram. Joey Ingram spent hours and hours combing through all of the hands and proving that he cheated. Doug Pope went through lots of stuff, proved he cheated, but I'm the target. I was just the whistleblower. So and there are other people who came forward. There is another commentator who came forward, and this person doesn't want to talk about it because they see what I've been going through. And this is also a woman. And they don't want to have anything to do with it because they see what I go through. So it's absolute hell. This was probably a bad decision. I was told that I shouldn't have said anything. I should have just never gone back to Stones. And in hindsight, I probably should have done that because I don't know if it was worth it. Because like I have gone through absolute hell, and I think that eventually people would have noticed. It probably would have taken another 6 months. People were complaining. People were going to Justin. But like in this moment, if you had asked me like 6 months ago, I would have been like, no, it was good that I did it. But like, this is never ending hell. There is no justice in this matter. The DOJ completely let me down in this case. And now my life is a living hell because of this man. And the only people who've made money off of this, because Mike Postle stole like $350,000 around that amount. But the lawyers have made a ton of money in all the lawsuits. And Mike is just sitting there in his mother's basement, you know, just has nothing but time on his hands. When he's not hanging out with his daughter, he's making my life hell. And that's his goal in life right now. So I don't know. I don't like, I think like justice within poker, it doesn't happen. Have we ever seen a cheater go to jail? Have we
Mm.
ever seen anything happen to anyone?
Yeah,
Cheaters are in tournaments right now.
it's frustrating. It's frustrating to watch as someone who cares about the poker community, like, and I'm sure I'm speaking for you and for a lot of listeners here in the show as well. Um, you know, in the world itself, people acting right and doing the right thing, you know, often don't find that it's rewarded, and it's not fair, and it is, you know, it makes me angry, to be honest with you. Uh, but I think we have to continue just for our own sake and like for the sake for the children. Like we have to keep trying to do the right thing, and we have to keep putting ourselves in a position where, you know, we're able to shine a light. Is there, it just breaks my heart that we're in this. Okay, we as a poker community actually have a lot of power as individuals to police this community, to curate this community. Like, why do you think the poker world, again, I understand it's a human problem. Humans are assholes and poker players are humans, but like, can't we be more selective about who we choose to invite into this? Is it, am I just being naive, or like, should we do a better job of just ostracizing assholes in the poker world and just trying to like get on without them? Or is it just not possible because they have all the money and the power and like,
I just don't think it's possible. And I think there's just too many scumbags. Like, look at Mike Postle went and played in Alabama or Mississippi or somewhere, and his buddy running the MGM room put a different name down for
yeah,
him,
I saw
you
that.
know,
Yeah.
and then they didn't want to hold his money. I tried to put a lien on his winnings, but it was a long weekend, so we couldn't get the lien in. And MGM gave him his money. Like his buddy was just trying to help him. Like there's just scumbags everywhere, scumbags in high positions.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I don't know what you want me to say. Like, does it, I would be, as much as your viewers are probably going to hate me for turning this into a misogynist thing, I'd love to see if like industries that are mostly women, if like, if there's this sort of injustice and this type of behavior, or is it like, is it because it's 95% men? I don't know. I don't know. I think that's kind of offensive that I said that, but I don't know what it is. I don't know what the correlation is. I'm sorry, the men who are watching, and Chris and John and Jim.
Well, I think a lot of us recognize that, you know, a lot of these bad actors in the poker world are men, whether it's because, you know, men are naturally more evil people, or if it's just the perfect storm of, you know, having fewer good faith actors in the room with them, you know, to kind of keep them in check. I don't know. John Somsky, you unmuted here, and I know we've got some great comments and questions from YouTube as well.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I do agree with you. I think on average, women tend to be better than men, just better people. Although there are exceptions in both directions that, you know, make that destroy that average. But anyway, I also think that we as a society and as a people are getting better over time. I mean, we're not living back in the same place that we were in the 50s. If you watch you know, some of the James Bond movies that came out in the 50s and 60s, incredibly misogynistic. And they're a little bit better today. Not that we're always perfect, not that, but I think we as a society are moving in the right direction. So we just need to wait for people my age and maybe even a little younger to die out, and then maybe we'll be doing even better yet. But I want you to at least understand that even there is I believe, a quiet majority out there that agrees with you. I know it doesn't help in that they are a silent majority and they aren't, you know, lending any type of, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but anyway, I just want you to know that there are people who feel for you and are behind you, Veronica, even if you don't hear
Thanks,
it as
John.
much as you should.
I appreciate that. And I love the fact that we can solve this by everyone dying out.
Well, yeah, when in doubt, that's the thing you do. That's the way science moves on, right? When people who had antiquated ideas die out, that's just the way things goes.
That's right. And we're actually introducing a new program here at RecPoker where we can selectively advance the dying out of some of these members over others. It's you go to rec.poker/death panels and you can find out all about that exciting new venture that John Somsky is going to be heading up for us here. So again, John, thank you for all your fantastic contributions to RecPoker over the years. Veronica, we've had some really good comments here in the YouTube chat. You've got some fans and supporters here for sure. Even so, when you first came on the show, we talked a little bit about being from Edmonton, where my dad's from, and I shared the story about my favorite nail polish place up the street here that had a big sign out front that said Polish. I thought, except that it wasn't Polish; it was Polish. But we actually have one of our premium members here, Hubie, wants to know, and I'm going to try my best here. Veronica, Pradra, oh boy. Pozdrowienia I Kaluski I Ameriskanic, Missouri, Pennsylvania. Anything? You got anything from that? Is that
Is it you did a terrible pronunciation.
yes, I
Did he
did.
say something about noodles? Kluski? Kluski is
Maybe.
noodles?
Chris,
I don't know.
Chris, you want to say
I believe I
something?
did a Google Translate for you, Jim, and Veronica. I think you'll be like devastated by his pronunciation. But I believe this translated to Veronica: "Greetings and kisses from American Missouri, Pennsylvania."
Oh my God. He said Kaluski. Kaluski is noodles. So yeah, really good one there, Jim. I
mean,
appreciate
okay.
it.
that's if Google
We
translates
should
correct.
we should cancel the Polish segment from now on.
We're gonna start putting that one after the ad break. That seems only fair.
Yeah,
we're always
yeah.
trying something new over here. But yeah, honestly, just a lot of comments thanking you for speaking out. Commending you for hitting this head on after dealing with the Mike Fossil thing. A few people agreeing with you about the spaces, and yeah, just for what it's worth, a lot of people that want to be, heard, commending you and applauding the steps that you're taking. And I can only hope that as time goes on, we are able to kind of turn this around a little bit so that the vitriol of the kind of knee-jerk reactions is matched and overcome by the sort of hopefully more long-lasting sense of kindness and righteousness and your heart being in the right place for this. I hope that happens, and it's terrible that you're in this position of not feeling like it's a slam dunk. I did the right thing, and I'm glad I did. Like that. That's just that hurts the soul. It does. I feel that.
Yeah, I mean, I think like someone was tweeting something I said to Vanessa Cade back in the day when she was working for ACR, and I was like, well, I mean, she was getting mad at GG Poker for hiring Dan Bilzerian, and I was like, well, you kind of
Mhm.
knew Phil Nagy and you worked for Phil Nagy. And I think to the point of that, as soon as I found out that this was going on with Nick, I left. And so like if I had known, like if he was just like someone who's flirty, I mean, like there's just a lot of people out there who are flirty. There are a lot of people
Mhm.
who have like flirty interactions with people they know. Like when I was single, I was flirty with some of my friends, but if I had known there was more than just that, I wouldn't have done it. And once I found out, I left. And so it's like it, it just, I don't think it's the same thing. And Vanessa's entitled to her own opinion, but I just didn't think that was the same type of thing.
Yeah.
People kept tagging me in that tweet, and I'm like, well, I mean, I guess if you don't understand like the dynamicness of that, it's fine. But yeah, the second I found out, I left.
Yeah. So does this taint your love of the game of poker? Is there like a heel turn here happening in your heart for just because it's of all the negative associations now?
And I mean, I did say like for the week or two after, like I'm not doing any more poker media. I just don't want to do it. And even this podcast, I wanted to do it because I'm friends with you guys. You guys have always been gracious to me, but I really truly don't want to become the face of this. Like I don't want to. I declined every other podcast besides the interview with Poker Org, because didn't. I don't want to be the face of this. I think this is Lauren's fight. I think this is what Lauren needs to do. However she wants to handle it. I asked her on the phone multiple times, and she's struggling with the thought of going public with this and telling and sharing her story because she's seen the reaction that I got, that other women have received, and she is not as thick-skinned as I am. She's very sensitive. She really worries about her reputation and her character. And, working within poker, that's all you've got, right? You're on your resume, it's as a dealer, they want to know, do you have a good reputation? And so it just worries her to come forward because of all of this.
Yep. We're going to take a little more of your time, Veronica. Last chance to get some questions in the YouTube chat here. Chris Jones, you unmuted. Why don't you jump in?
Yeah, Veronica, I mean, I wanted to ask you a little bit about that. I mean, first of all, I mean, a lot of the chat here today is talking about commending you for the courage and in terms of your role, both I think, and sort of immediately sort of extricating yourself from that situation, as well as I mean, the Mike Postle situation took a lot of courage as well to sort of come out there. But it does, as Jim sort of mentioned, it really breaks my heart to think of the blowback being so strong and so sort of like reactive. And I think it is a form of gatekeeping, right? Like if we can make the people who are sort of squeaking the wheel or whatever, if we can make that existence devastatingly hard, it's going to make it that much harder for the next person. And I guess what I'm wondering is, that's going to exist, and there's probably nothing we can do about it. There's just going to be people who exist that way and make those things hard. But what can we do to sort of, as a sort of a poker community, even just as a greater society, what do you think are some ways we can make those voices sort of strengthen them, encourage them, make them feel heard? And I don't think you can feel safe, because it's just like, that doesn't go with that. But what are ways that we can at least make those voices sort of more supported?
Well, I think one thing is to not support the other spaces, the spaces where it's toxic, where people are not supportive. I've had so many people message me like, "Oh my God, I can't believe what they're saying about you in spaces." And I'm like, "Why are you in there? You're adding to the problem. Why are you in there? If you're in there and quietly listening, you're part of the problem. If you're in there and you go up on the panel and you say, no, this is wrong. Like, what are you guys doing? I disagree with what you're saying. Then, that's helpful, but not everyone has that in them. But yeah, just being a part of those spaces, just because you want to like hear gossip or drama and, you're bored one evening, you're just a part of the problem. And then I think, I mean, for me, it's like about wanting women to be a part of poker, and then wanting women to be comfortable with coming out with these kinds of things. And so actively not supporting people who attack women for, speaking up if they're uncomfortable at the table, or, if a woman is being talked to in a creepy way at a table, like ask her, like, are you okay? Do you want me to say something? Like, I just think, like, just from a woman's perspective, and then just the negativity. I think like as a community, and I'm like right now focusing on the negative, but like as a community, like we've seen like Dan Integrano and like all these big names not join in on these spaces anymore because it is kind of a shit show. But just like not being a part of groups that are like not supportive and that are negative. Like I'm not really quite sure. Poker's such a big community and it spans so wide that it feels like the best people in poker have gotten voices and like the most positive people, but there's still a lot of prominent prominent people being very negative in it. So I'm not sure if you have a recommendation, Chris.
Yeah, Chris, solve the problems of the world for us here. We can't put all this pressure on our guests. You know,
I
we
mean,
got to take some of this in-house.
we see like GG Poker, like I think they just struck a deal with Hustler Casino Live. Like they don't care. No one
Right.
cares. Like if you look at where the incentives are, the incentives aren't like, oh well, we want to maintain the integrity or in our name and our brand. No, they don't care. The incentives are with the money. The incentives are, with whatever they are for a business or a person. But like I think unfortunately, not everyone, but a lot of people will prioritize money over ethics.
Yeah. And again, it's like a tough problem to solve when it's a human problem, but we can shine a light on it and make bad actors uncomfortable. Kim Kilroy, you had something.
Yeah, it seems to me that it's taken the poker world a long time to catch up to what's appropriate and not appropriate. Even as recently as 2 years ago, when I was at PCA, or I'm not sure it was whatever the one was at Bahamar. And there was a woman there at the table complaining repeatedly about the language from two guys at the table who were making all kinds of inappropriate sexual remarks and misogynistic remarks and complaining. And instead of the floor doing anything about it, they just moved her to another table.
Hmm.
Like, and this is in a tournament. Like, let's stop the behavior instead of the old boys will be boys and and let it and sweep it under the rug. Like, we've got to get on the floor and the tournament directors and the poker room managers to actually stop this where it starts, and not just move people because they're uncomfortable in the position and putting the onus on the woman instead of putting it on the man or the men that are causing the problem.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I can say from firsthand experience, not this past year, but the year before, I played at a PLO series event, and I will say, like most of the time, 90% of the guys are awesome, and like it's never uncomfortable, and they're usually cool if I mess something up or something. But there was a guy on my right who was very misogynist, very rude, and very aggressive, that had very incel type of behaviors. And he was calling me names, like derogatory names, and I called the floor over, and the floor basically treated it like we were two bickering kids. And they're like, okay, you two get along. I don't want to be called back here because I'll put both of you on a timeout. And I'm like, are you crazy? And he was loving it. He was like, and the rest of the table was like, dude, like, what are you doing? But nothing happened. Nothing was done. It was like, you two kids, calm down. Kind of that's how I was treated. So yeah, I mean, if the floor were to do something, then that would be better. Which is why WPT is coming up, the Win and Encore in December, and that is a place that I have really, I that's my favorite room to play in, because the second I tell them something, they take care of it. And I would love for all of us to kind of be that level where we believe women when they say they're being bothered at a poker table. And usually we're so used to it, men, we are so used to this type of behavior that the only time we're going to say something is if it's really bad, because a lot of times we just like let stuff fly and are like, haha, yeah, okay, buddy, and then we'll just try to ignore it. But we're only going to say it if it's really bad. So if we are saying it, like, I hope you believe us.
I appreciate that point. Kim?
Maybe we should start saying it when it's not really bad, when it's just starting.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we need to start nipping it in the bud and saying, that's not appropriate. When it's, I mean, being from an older generation myself, I've faced this. This was common everywhere I went and every place and so it was the norm for me. And it's been difficult for me to change, to understand that it's not appropriate and
Yeah.
see how uncomfortable, especially younger women, are in these situations. And so I've had to make an about face myself, and I'm not even one of the ones that's like doling out all the abusive um, terminology and actions. So maybe it's time for us not to have such a high tolerance, because I had a
Mm.
Yeah.
really high tolerance. Maybe it's time for us to have a low tolerance for this kind of
So
behavior.
Kim, I 100% agree with you. And I think that's like of our generation of women, older women, we had to learn how to maneuver through life with this type of behavior. I was 13 when middle-aged men started hitting on me. And so I had to learn to be nice so that I wouldn't be in danger. Like I had to be like be polite turning down a man who was aggressively hitting on me. And throughout my life, I had to maneuver through these kinds of situations. And I wasn't always given an opportunity to just be like, excuse me, this man is sexually harassing me. Like it just isn't always like that. And like you said, Kim, you're right. Like when I speak to 25-year-old women, their threshold is like so much lower. And I'm like, oh my God, like when I was younger, you should see the shit that men would say to me. And it wasn't right. It doesn't mean it's right. But like, yeah, we had a lot more, we put up with a lot more crap back in the day. So it's been hard for me too to adjust to newer standards, to not tolerate crap. But then, like, I also don't want men. I have a lot of male friends that I see and I hug them, and I don't want them to feel uncomfortable talking to me. But like, men just have to understand that, like, you have to have like consent in flirting. Like, a woman will let you know. You have to have consent with hugs. Like, she will let you know that she doesn't want to hug you. Like, she'll be very on. She'll show you the body language. So, yeah, that is a very interesting point that you brought up, Kim.
And I have seen more men at the table say things like, "That's not cool, dude." Like, but it's really hard for them to break out of the bro club, in my opinion. It's really hard for men to say anything.
Yeah, and
John,
then think about if the
please.
guy owns the poker show
Right.
and then you want to play in that game, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Near
Especially in those.
impossible.
Yeah. John Somsky, you unmuted for a second. Did you want to add anything at this point?
No, I think what I was going to say has been addressed.
Okay. Yeah, so I really appreciate that. And I think it sounds like, the one thing every time the subject comes up, it sounds like the one thing, I don't know if this is the solution, but one thing that would really help is if all the men in the poker world lowered their tolerance for this bullshit, like Kim is saying, and were more vocal in their poker rooms. Talk to the floor staff, people. Talk to the folks that actually have the power to make and interpret and enforce the rules in these poker rooms. So poker room managers, floor staff, there's a culture in these poker rooms that is permitted. And those permitting it are the player pool and the people running the rooms. So if we want to see a change, we need to bring that change into these environments. So I don't think it's a silver bullet, but I think we all need to do a better job of curating our own community, of letting the assholes know that they're not welcome at the table, and of telling the rooms, the poker rooms, that we have a stake in this, and that we don't want to support places that don't treat people equally and with respect, whatever that means.
Oh, can I just add a point to that? Like, let me ask you guys, what you think about, like, what if the asshole is the whale? Because I've
Right.
seen whales there's a different threshold of what they're allowed to do versus what everyone else is.
Yeah, I think
Chris,
that's
jump in.
that's to me one of the biggest issue. I see floors and dealers just in the spaces I go to. Like, if you have a regular who is maybe going to the poker room 6 or 7 days a week and they're pumping tons of money. Maybe they're a loser, maybe they're a winner, I don't know, but they're pumping tons of money into the place. They're tipping well. They're the player that everybody wants in the game because maybe they're contributing and that's fine, but they're an absolute asshole. The tolerance for that behavior is so much greater from the whole community, from the player pool, from the floors, from the dealers. And I don't know what you do about that because everyone seems to have an incentive of wanting them in the game, and that's an immense issue that I don't know how to fix.
I mean, I know this, maybe this is a naive take of mine, but fuck that guy and fuck everyone like him. And I know plenty of nice people that have money that will play poker. And if we can only play six-handed because the two of the people at the eight-handed table were assholes, then get them the fuck out of here. And excuse me, but this gets my blood up because life's too short to spend it with misogynists and assholes. And I don't care as a man or as a woman, like the poker room will understand it if we make this a priority that we are not going to support places that support these kind of people. You know, they're going to find their own goddamn poker room and play with each other, and they can steal each other's money and make each other feel terrible. But like, it's on us. Like, we are all responsible for allowing this to happen because we're not making these people feel uncomfortable being jerks in public. And like, you know, I don't have kids, but like, I see people behave in the poker rooms. Like, if my kid behaved like that, you know, there would be consequences. God damn it! And like, we can't just. We are all ambassadors for the game of poker. We are all members of the poker community. The most recreational players, you have a stake in this, and it's on all of us to let the powers that be know that it's not acceptable, or it will just continue to be accepted because, like you say, you know, they bring money and they show up and we want them at the table. But, you know, there are a lot of real friendly whales out there. I'm one. Like, they don't have to, we don't have to just cater to the asshole whales, you know, like there's other people out there. Okay, excuse my profanity. John, you had something there, I think.
Well, I was going to say, people think it's in their self-interest to have the whale that's sitting there losing a lot of money at the table. And, you know, for that night, that may be true. But I also believe that's a little bit short-sighted because making poker an inviting game to help grow the game is going to be more sustainable than having some asshole sitting at the table who is paying for the privilege to be an asshole. Um, so I personally believe that in the long term, we're better off making poker a better game for better people.
I like that.
All right. So solved. On to the next world problem. You know, thank you, Veronica. Um, let's turn the page on this a bit. I think we've uncovered a lot of good comments here. Got some really good conversation in the YouTube chat. Veronica, you've been very generous with your time. Let's leave this with a palate cleanser. So there were a couple of questions. First of all, can you in your history of interviews and commentary and that sort of thing, is there one favorite interview that you've been a part of, and is there one like strangest interview moment that you can recall?
I honestly, so favorite interview. I mean, Poker After Dark really gave me access to a lot of like cool people, speaking with them, seeing how they play. Um, Favorite interview, I think like, I mean, Jennifer Tilly. I just love her. I mean, she followed me on Instagram after, like, it's just made my day. She's always so gracious, and it's always people like her, like the higher you get, the more gracious you actually have to be. So that was great. But like Landon Tice, he was a friend of mine. He reached out to me to come onto my show when he was like 21, 22. He would call me and ask me like advice about girls and stuff. And I interviewed him on Poker After Dark, and then just seeing his progress. I think that's like one of the coolest things, just watching someone progress through poker and how like they change their life and they grow up and think differently. And then like Steve Aoki was like, and he was one of those people that, I mean, of course he's a DJ, just the way his personality is, but he was like a 12-year-old. It was like I was interviewing a 12-year-old in like a 40-year-old body. And I just remember being like, oh my, I don't even think this guy's real. It was so weird. Um, uh, I think like the best interviews are everybody's just got something cool and unique, and you always learn something. Like I thought Doug Polk was a total asshole. He's like one of the nicest guys and one of the most respectful people I've ever met. Like I truly think so highly of that guy. Um, yeah, the guys who play $1 million cash games, it's like a different, when you speak to them, they very successful people have like different ways of carrying themselves, a different outlook. It's almost like they have no victim mentality at all. They're like, oh, there's a
Mm.
problem, I'll fix it. Like, let's move on. Just they're almost, I'm not saying this in a mean way, but they're almost too dumb to think about failing. Like they're just like, oh, it's not a consideration. Like me, all I think about is like, oh my God, my next endeavor, how many different ways am I gonna fail? And they're like, no, it's fine. Like we're moving on. Yeah, so yeah, I mean it's been so awesome. It's like been one of the highlights of my life because I used to watch Poker After Dark and I used to watch poker on TV relentlessly, and just to be a part of it has been just incredible for me. I'm always just so grateful. I would have done it for free, $1 million cash game, but don't tell them that. Just because it's just so cool to be a part of. It's such a cool thing to be a part of.
Oh, that's great. Donna, Dark Angel in the YouTube chat sees right through you, by the way. She says, so nice to see your face light up remembering stuff like this. And it's true. Like you can see the fun that you have in it, sort of like the love you have for the game, these things that make the game great. So thank you for that. And thank you for continuing to be this excellent example of an industry professional, but a recreational player and someone who's got their head on straight and their heart in the right place. So it's always a pleasure to talk to you about this kind of stuff, Veronica. I really mean it.
Thanks, Jim. Kim, are you drinking wine?
Oh, Kim. Oh,
I
yeah.
love Kim.
100% got some wine going down there.
No, 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 no.
No, heavens no.
Past my wine. I'm drinking out of a wine glass, though.
Oh, okay.
She's just rinsing at this point. It's
Yeah,
part of
just
her.
a palate cleanser at this point.
Chris Jones, have we gotten the stake study stack suggestions from YouTube?
We
that
have,
you're
and
ready to
I'm
roll
going.
with?
I'm going off the board a little myself. So I've got some names for you, Veronica. So Veronica,
Okay.
this is a game we call Stake Study Stack. We kind of close off our interview with a couple of games. I'm going to give you 3 names. You're going to pick one that you would like to stake in a poker tournament, one that you would like to study with, and then one that you would take great pleasure in just stacking them at the table and taking all of their chips. And your 3 names are, I'm going to make it hard on you, Sean Deeb, Faraz
Knew it.
Jaka, and David Tuckman.
Roz, study, Sean Deeb, stack, and then Tuckman I would stake. Yeah.
All right. So that's kind of what I predicted.
Give me a hard
but
one.
I want to see where we were going.
Yeah.
Although like Faraz would be cool to stack.
Yeah.
It's like in your face, Faraz, and he would take it probably so graciously. I actually played next to him for 8 hours before I became a member, and I remember him giving. We both busted in the same hand at the same time as a 3-way all in.
Oh,
And I remember walking to cash together, and he gave me feedback on the hand. Most professional poker players are like, "Oh, nothing you could have done. Yeah, it was fine." But he actually gave me feedback. He's like, "Yeah, I don't think it was a great shove," and he talked to me why, and he spoke to me like a peer. And I was like, "This guy is awesome." And then I started seeing all these women cashing in events because they were students of his, and I'm like, I'm signing up.
Nice. Yeah, we were excited when Faraz Jaka and his site joined our Learning with Partners program here. We're proudly sharing his material with our members, along with a lot of our other learning partners. And I'll just put the plug out there if you want to get involved with Faraz Jaka or any of these other fantastic training sites that we work with. You can go to rec.poker/resources and you'll get a little discount code there to take part. And that helps us out too. So I hope
Oh,
so
that's
some folks
nice. Discount
Yeah.
codes are good.
Yes.
Jaka.com. Get that discount. I wish I had the discount code.
That's right. All right. Well, we're going to just close out the interview here. We're closing the action with our speed round. Thanks for giving us a little extra time tonight, Veronica. As soon as Veronica leaves, we'll announce some home game results and hand out a prize to one of our YouTube audience members. If you want to start typing the words food bank into the YouTube chat right now, that's how you get entered into our raffle. And the reason that we do is we just want to raise some awareness about how hard it is for a lot of people in the world today to put food on the table, whether it's for themselves or for their family, a loved one, a child. I think more people than ever are struggling to put things together. And one big difference you can make in the world today is just by helping out someone in your own neighborhood, someone in your own community. It might be someone who's you're surprised to see needs a little help. And if you just pull out your smartphone right now and Google food banks near me, you'll find a fantastic organization that can benefit from either a few dollars out of your pocket, a few hours of volunteer work out of your week, or some non-perishable food items from your pantry. And so I just encourage everyone to help out a local food bank sometime this week. And if you want to enter our raffle, we're going to give away a fantastic prize at the end of the show. And all you have to do is just type the words food bank in there to give me an excuse to say food bank about 5 times while we get on with the show. All right, so start typing that in there. And thanks for being awesome folks who support your neighbor and your partners in our civilized world that need a little help from time to time. All right, Veronica, we call this closing the action. And I'm just going to fire a bunch of rapid fire questions at you. You can say pass. No, we're not trying to make anyone too uncomfortable, but I do want the first thing that pops into your head that is 100% true. Okay?
Okay.
All right, we're going to start with some dramatic ticking noise, and then we're going to jump right into it. Yes. All right. Oh, man, the pressure is on. Okay, we're going to start with an easy one, Veronica. What is your favorite poker hand?
Aces.
I told you it was an easy one. Is poker a gamble or a skill game?
Skill game.
What's your biggest poker pet peeve?
People who don't pay attention to the blinds and don't push their chips when the dealer is trying to reach for them.
That's mine too. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Yes.
Is Ace King a drawing hand?
Yes.
What's one thing that you don't have, but if you did, would make you truly happy?
Money.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Ooh, yes, it is.
Okay. If a hot dog's a sandwich, is a taco a sandwich?
You know what? Let's go with yes.
Okay, we're going to come back to this a little later. Should vacations be lazy or busy?
Ooh. Busy.
What's one player you respect and why?
Daniel Negreanu, he's had longevity and he carries himself very well.
All right, what about a calzone? Is a calzone a sandwich?
Calzone. I'm going to go with yes.
Okay, you're very, very sandwich open. You're very open to different sandwich interpretations versus the field. What about a Pop-Tart then? Is a Pop-Tart a sandwich?
A Pop-Tart is a piece of garbage.
We found our line, folks. Yellow light coming up. Slow down or speed up?
Speed up.
You're getting down to the end of a tournament. Are you pro chop or no chop?
No chop. No chop.
Doesn't have to be your favorite musical artist, but name one excellent musical artist that you love.
Six black. Black with a not a B but a 6.
Okay. What about an open face sandwich? Is an open face sandwich a sandwich?
Yes.
Yeah, no,
yes.
You're very sandwich permissive. I gotta say. What's one thing you can't live without?
Coffee.
And who is your poker nemesis?
Oh my God, my poker nemesis. It's got to be Sean Deeb.
I think you're right. I think you're right. Okay, that's the end of our speed round. I've got one more question for you, and then we'll tabulate your points. What's one thing that you do to make poker more fun for you?
More fun for me?
Yeah.
Okay. I think one of the things that makes it fun is having a better understanding of the game, because you don't want to go in and just win when you're lucky and lose when you're unlucky, right? It's fun to be able to understand what the pros are talking about. It's fun to run sims and see like how your intuition could be incorrect, which I'm a big fan of data, using data to make decisions. So I think the thing that I've done is I've gotten some coaching, some cash game coaching, I have a cash game coach in LA, and then I've been using Faraz's site for tournament. Although, like, I haven't been doing that so much lately, I have to admit. But I still have the membership.
Right on. Well, just doing some quick math here. Carried the 2. I've got you at 1,191 points. That's quad digits. That's very impressive. That's very impressive, Veronica. Not everyone cracks the 1,000. So
I
you
tend
should
to
feel proud of
impress
yourself.
everyone on every podcast, so you're welcome.
All right. Well, Veronica Brill, you can catch her as Angry Polak on Twitter. Where would you like folks to reach out and say, hey, Veronica, great show. Thanks for coming on. And is there something that our audience members can do to make your life better in some way? Like or subscribe to something or sign up for something or kick someone in the kneecap? What's your preference for how we
I
can
want to kneecap. Just
yeah.
stand up for people in poker, and it doesn't have to just be women. Like, get the
Yeah.
assholes out of the game. I really like that, Jim. But yeah, on Twitter, I'm angry_Polak, Polka, AK. And then Instagram is the same. But yeah, I mean, like, I'm kind of an old lady now. I don't really like big into everything. You don't need to subscribe to any of my crap. Like, it's fine.
And can you share anything about this next project with Bally's that you kind of teased at the top of the show?
Yeah, so I'm going to be helping them out with some of the ladies' cash games, and probably coming out to Bally's like once a month or maybe every other month to play their cash games. And then we're thinking about putting something else together. I can't say it right now, but we're gonna try a demo of something. So God, you know what? I can't leave. I can't leave poker media. It doesn't seem to be working for me. I've tried to retire and become an old lady and, hang out at home with my man, but it's not working.
Well, I think what you really have to do is to make it official. Next time you're planning to retire, break it here on the show, and then we'll have all sorts of like built-in accountability. It'll be like telling all your friends you're quitting smoking, and everyone's going to remind you about it every day for the next 2 months. Yeah, we'll get there together. I believe in you. I believe in you, Veronica.
Yeah, I mean, it lasted for about a day or two, so
Not
yeah.
bad. Personal best.
Who knew there was such a demand for middle-aged blondes? I don't know.
Well, thank you again. This has been such a pleasure. I hope we get a chance to meet up in person again sometime soon. We're going to continue on with the show, give away some prizes, and talk about some home game results and some other upcoming events. But thanks again for your time and for your insights. This was a pleasure.
Thank you so much for letting me come on your show. It's a pleasure as always. Really appreciate all of you and your time, because it's also, the kind of you to listen to me. So thanks, Kim. Thanks, John. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Jim.
All right, there she is, Veronica Brill. Everyone, go check her out. Angry_Polak. Now let us get off to the last steps of the show here. John Somsky, why don't you share some recent home game winners, and then we will draw a prize and see who is going to be our prize winner for the night.
Well, we'll start with our Tournament of Champions. Evil Roy CA, David Westerveld, got his second daily TOC of the year. So he now that only earns him 1 silver pin for the year. You can only get 1 silver pin for that category, but still a very impressive victory. On October 14th, Aces 54320, Kathy Chang got her 4th nightly victory of the year. And on October 15th, Aces 54320, Kathy Chang got her 5th nightly victory for the year. E. Anderson 85, Eric Anderson got his 8th nightly victory. Larson's opening, George Borden got his 3rd nightly victory for the year. Nice. K Poker Wannabe, Ron Payton got his 6th nightly victory for the year. So we're seeing lots of repeat winners here. And John Lutzy got his 1st nightly victory for the year. He's won in other years, just this is his first one this year.
Yeah, he's one of the OGs over here.
And for our mixed practice event, Poker Geek MN, John Somsky got his 3rd victory.
Yes.
Keck Geek, that would be Keck Geek Senior, got his 1st international victory for the year. Max Chaos 2112, Greg Clem got his 4th international victory for the year. And Ship and Flip Wreck, Luke O'Driscoll won the LPP event for the 2nd time this year. He can contact info@rec.poker for his free month at Learn Pro Poker.
That's right. Very exciting. Oh, John, thanks for all the work you do in the home game club dungeon where we force you to live and work. You've got a great spirit, and we're glad to have your effort all the way around.
Well,
A
I do have
fantastic home
a
game club.
window in my office now, so I can actually see outside and tell the difference between day and night. So it's a step up.
We spoil you. Um, everyone, if you see John Somsky out in the wild, buy this guy a drink. We all contribute in different ways to what we do here at Rec Poker, but most of it's like talking about poker, helping people with their poker problems. John runs our home game club. He doesn't. This is the fun part of it, coming on the show and talking to people about poker. He's got the real job here at Rec Poker. So hats off to you, buddy. Thank you so much for all
Well,
you
you know, I don't think in any way, shape, or form I do more work than anyone else. I just probably do more boring work than anyone else.
yeah, I think that's probably right. That's probably right. Well, hats off to you. All right, so we got some other fantastic group of comments in the YouTube chat here, including I'm gonna include my mom because she's watching along like she always does, but she can't type in the chat for some reason. She's a boomer, and there are technical skill issues. She's not always going to be like logged in properly, or but she did want to say, yeah, why did we burn our bras anyway? There you go. So I should have gotten to that while Veronica was here. But I'm right. You're right, Mom. There's progress to be made. Like, why did you guys even burn all those bras if you were going to not see it all the way through? You're leaving us with this whole huge problem now to clean up. Thanks a lot, Mom, and your whole stinking generation. But we're doing our best.
Do you always get private chats during the show that you're just now sharing with us? Like,
She sometimes she's logged in properly and she can comment
she
in the
comments.
YouTube
Okay,
chat
right.
properly. That's usually what happens, but every once in a while, if she can't log in, I'll just get a little text message with her observations
I
on the
love
show
I love it.
as we're going. Okay, so yeah, thank you to everyone in the YouTube chat here. Let's give away a prize. I think Eric Anderson got the first.
So
game
Eric
nice and
Anderson makes our
early.
life very hard by getting in way, way, way before the gun has even like been pulled out. But so Eric Anderson goes first, and then we've
Okay.
got John Doe, Hubie, Dark Angel, Ginger, Midwest 1811, Queens of Poker, K Poker Wannabe, and I think that's it. So that's 8, right?
I get 7. Do we have to do it again? I only got 7 there.
7?
Eric Anderson. Oh God, sorry, this is such bad podcasting.
Yeah, 3.
Eric Anderson.
4, 5, 6. That's 8.
John Doe was the next one.
Yeah. John Doe, Hubie, Dark Angel, Ginger, Midwest, Queens. I count 8 for sure. I'm rolling an
Definitely
8-sided.
8.
Okay,
The
roll
boomer
the
over
8-sided.
here, the boomer here agrees that there's 8.
Okay, here we go.
All right, we've got a confirmation on the 8. We're not doing the dice cam. We're rolling away.
Who's the winner?
It's a 3. So that's
Okay.
going to be Hubie.
Hubie.
What's 3 in Polish, Hubie?
Yeah,
What's winner in Polish? Good
I'm
job.
sending you kisses in Polish, Hubie.
Yeah.
Congratulations. So, Hubie, I think this is not your first time winning. You've won some access to some of our fantastic premium member training sites. So, if folks don't know, if you are a new member at Rec Poker, if you're not yet a premium member, if you're just enjoying our free membership, then if you win the podcast giveaway every week, you get a free month at Rec Poker as a premium member. Hubie has already taken the plunge. He's been a premium member for a while. And so being a member means that he gets to unlock a whole cooler tier of prizes, which is membership to some of our fantastic learning partners. So I've learned better than to list them all here live on the air without a list in front of me. But Hubie, if you send an email to info@rec.poker, you will get a chance to get Rob Washam, who gives away all our amazing free prizes, to set you up with a fantastic prize that I know you will enjoy. So thank you to Hubie for his contributions, and thank you to everyone else in the YouTube chat. We got some cool new folks in here. We got some really fun feedback, some really nice comments about Veronica, and some nice comments about what we're doing here at Rec Poker as well. So I always appreciate that. Lovely, warm, positive reinforcement of what we're doing. It does help us out a lot. We love to hear it, and it puts a smile on all of our faces. All right, Chris, John, Kim, anything to add? If you're watching this live as a premium member, you'd be able to join us in about 10 minutes. We're going to go record the next edition, the forums edition of the podcast, where we'll be talking strategy. Feel free to join us for that. We've got some other cool stuff lined up this week. I'll be joined by Matt Affleck on Wednesday as he coaches me up in our weekly coaching session leading up to a WPT appearance at the Win this December, which I'm really looking forward to, getting personal coaching from Matt Affleck for 10 or 12 weeks leading up to the WPT. And I am going to be playing in the championship event there for $10,000. Oh my God. And I don't have $10,000. So if anyone wants to come along for the ride, I'll be selling some action for that, and it's going to be a lot of fun. If you're interested, just send me an email, jim@rec.poker. If you're someone who invested in my main event package from earlier this year, congratulations on your savvy investment, by the way. And you'll be getting an email from me over the next little while as we set that up, because that was a dream come true, and I want to keep that alive. That was such a pleasure. So, all right. I got to thank I don't have to. I mean, I have to, but it's a pleasure to anyway. I am pleased to thank the Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino for all their support over the years. What a fantastic guest that was, Veronica Brill. Always enjoyed talking to her. Some really wonderful folks in the YouTube chat. Yes, and yes, Midwest 1811. You can buy action in PB&J form. Send that email and we'll get you all sorted out. We have a rich interchange of sandwich futures that we engage with over at the staking page there. So yeah, don't hesitate to get some of that PBJ action. Thank you to all of you for making this show so much more fun than when we used to just do it offline. I love doing these on YouTube, and it's life-giving to get this feedback from everyone in the group there. So thank you to all of them. I think that's everybody. We thanked everybody: Chris, John, Kim, Running Aces, Veronica, YouTube chatters, you listeners at home. Oh, well, thanks for sticking with us, folks. Have a great week. We'll catch you next week on the RecPoker podcast. All right, take care. We did it.